Kim and I met about 7 years ago and became fast friends. We both grew up in the Midwest where we were God-fearing Christians who put only God above family. We loved going to church every Sunday and making plans for our future. I was a successful engineer with a promising future, and Kim sold accounting software for a large technology firm based in Atlanta. Before we were married, my mom and dad bought a 3-bedroom house for me after I graduated from college. They had made a lot of money and wanted to share their success with others while they were still alive. Most people pass on their worldly possessions when they die, never having been able to enjoy the happiness of the gifts they can give while they are alive. Mom and dad shared their blessings while they were still alive and enjoyed shared happiness. Kim and I were married a little over 5 years ago, and we have been on a perpetual honeymoon ever since. Our sex life was great, and we made love at least 4 nights a week. We were soulmates, and all of our friends were sickened by how close and loving we were to each other. We were lucky enough to give birth to 2 beautiful blonde twin girls, and after their birth, our lives changed for the better. We devoted all of our time to raising the girls and making sure they had a loving home. We had a lifestyle that others might consider boring. We ate at home. Most evenings went out Friday and Saturday nights and went to church on Sunday. We weren't interested in social life and fashion. Like other people our age, Kim wore conservative clothes at work and at home and allowed any sexy for my eyes only in our bedroom. Our relationship was based on trust and complete transparency. We never hid anything from each other, which served as a solid foundation for our marriage. Kim was one of those women who needed to show her affection, and I loved the way she lovingly touched me, kissed me, and hugged me. We loved sharing our feelings with each other, and we enjoyed each other immensely. Raising twins can be stressful, but I loved being with them as much as I could. The twins were a little stressful for Kim, but I was happy to take advantage of any weakness and help out. We had a great partnership, and we always worked things out before either of us got upset with Kim, and my twin girls' life couldn't have been better. The week before the annual show, Kim was notified that they needed her for the 3-day event because others had gotten sick with a virus. They had to assign Kim to the show. Of course, she tried to get out of it, but they were desperate, and she had no choice. "Baby, I'm so sorry about this. I hate leaving you and the girls for 3 days. I called my boss twice and tried to turn away, but he said he needed us all at the event. You know how much I hate leaving." I watched her pack for the trip and assured her that we would be fine for a few days and that we would miss her. But we were there to support her. I helped her with her luggage and carried it to the limo the company had hired for the trip to the airport. Like I said, we had the perfect marriage, and I trusted her completely. I never saw her flirt or generally behave any differently than a perfect, loving wife. We had a completely transparent marriage, and we told each other everything. We shared our love for our children and did everything together. That's why the text I received from my coworker and friend was hard to believe and process. It was going on the second night of the show when I received a text from my colleague Greg, who was at a cybersecurity event in Atlanta. "David, how's your weekend going, buddy? I'm enjoying my girls. Kim is at a trade show, and I'm here spending time with my favorite girls. Aren't you at the security conference this weekend?" "I am." "You said Kim's at the trade show, right? Do you know which one?" "Well, yeah, she's in Atlanta this week, but I'm not sure about the name of the trade show her company is exhibiting at the convention center." "Why do you ask?" "I'm having dinner with my group, and, well, are you sitting down?" I laughed to myself, thinking I wish Kim would ever dress like that. But that's not my wife. I stopped laughing when the next picture came up, which was a close-up shot of her sitting very close and kissing next to Jonathan, one of her executives she worked with. I sat there in shock, not moving, and didn't even blink until the next photo came up. It was another close-up of her smiling and looking into Jonathan's eyes. My heart stopped when I saw that message, but tried to convince myself that there was a good explanation there until the next message came a few minutes later. It was a short video of my wife kissing Jonathan with her arms wrapped around his neck and his hand resting on her right breast. That's when my head exploded. In that moment, I felt my whole world come crashing down on me. Tears of pain rolled down my face, and my heart was racing, and I felt nauseous. A text message came in. "Friend, are you okay? What should I do? Can you see her right now?" Yeah, I'm going to call her right now and just check on her." I dialed her number and heard the phone ring a few times and then switched to voicemail. I left her a message saying that we missed her and just wanted to talk to. Make sure she had a good night. I called Greg. "I just called her. What did she do, David? I'm so sorry about this." She pulled her phone out of her purse, looked at the caller ID, and then put it back in her purse. "Friend, I can't believe it's her. I mean, I've never seen her act or dress like that, David. I never realized how hot your wife was." "I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. It's okay, Greg. Thanks for sharing that with me and keeping it from me. You're a good friend. I'll figure it out and you don't need to get involved. Just stay out of her sight if possible. Let me know if anything else happens, but don't waste any more time following her. I'll take it from here, my friend. You going to be okay?" "No, I'm far from it, but I know what I have to do and I'll take care of it. I'm still in shock and it's going to take me a while to figure it all out, but, I will. Thanks again. You're welcome. I love you, buddy. I'm here for you. Take care of yourself." "Greg, thanks again." I poured myself something stronger and sat in the dark living room trying to figure out how my world had crumbled in less than 20 minutes. I'd never had any idea there was a problem in our relationship. How long had this been going on? Was I really that dumb and not recognizing the signs? No, she never gave me any reason to think that, in fact, in the last 6 months she had become more loving than ever. Our sex life had doubled in intensity, and our relationship had grown stronger. It didn't make any sense, and I couldn't understand any of it over the next hour. Greg sent some more pictures and videos. There was a short video of them dancing with his hand on her ass, another short video of them kissing on the dance floor, and another picture of them kissing hard alone on a deserted dance floor. I realized that they must have been kissing so passionately that they didn't notice the music had gone silent. I knew it was over between us, but I still had so much more to learn and understand. Being an engineer and a savvy problem solver, I plunged than you can imagine, and I hung up the phone as my tears flowed again. What I said was true. I loved her more than life itself, and I wanted this to turn out to be a bad dream. It was past midnight when I lay in bed, unable to sleep. I wondered if she was really in her hotel room and what she was doing. My question was answered when I received another text message from Greg. It was a picture of my wife, Kim, and Jonathan on a couch in a room that looked like a hotel lobby. It was a picture of them kissing. His hand was tucked under her short skirt and her arms were wrapped around his neck. They looked like two newlyweds sharing their love in public, so to speak. One last thing. Buddy, I'm done for the day, but it looks like she's going to be busy. Let me know if you want to call it a day. I can break it off easily enough right now. It's hard to see, but thank you for these pictures. No, let her go. This is all her fault. And you don't need to get involved. Let the situation go. Thank you again. I cried until I fell asleep, knowing that the love of my life had betrayed me. Our marriage vows and our girls' sleep finally took away the pain and tears. Until I woke up the next morning, there were several love messages from Kim with hearts, kisses, and smiley faces. She professed her love and told me how much she missed me and the girls. She told me to get ready for a wild night of sex. When she got back, she acted so sweet and loving as if nothing had happened. I began to wonder if maybe she had a dissociative disorder and didn't realize what she was doing. Maybe she had been drugged. I searched for answers but realized I had to face facts and plan ahead. She was due home in a few days, and I needed to deal with all of this. We talked several times a day, and everything was fine. She kept telling me how much she missed all of us and wanted to come home. I wasn't sure what made me angrier. Was it the cheating and the fact that she was with another man? Or was it her cheating and lying? She was holding me for a fool. And it hurt just as much as seeing her kiss Jonathan after Greg's messages and the revelation that my wife had made me her cuckold. I sprang into action since I was the tech guru in the family. I added some software to her phone that allowed me to find the phone if it was ever lost. Of course, I bought the latest software on the market and installed it, and even explained to Kim how to use it. This software package also included a voice text, an email recorder with automatic uploading to the cloud if activated. Let me be clear, I didn't install this software on my phone to spy on her, but as it turns out, it was going to come in handy. Before last night, it wouldn't have occurred to me to look into any of her personal belongings. But after last night, my trust would never be the same again. I had to protect the girls and save our marriage if possible. Thankfully, the girls kept me busy and distracted me from thoughts of my crumbling marriage. Making breakfast, cleaning up after them, and playing dolls with them was something I loved and cherished. I'm not sure if you've ever had to take care of 3-year-old twins, but let me tell you, it's serious training. It was 2 p.m., and I finally put the girls down for their afternoon nap. I showered and cleaned up the house before sitting down at the table to catch up on some work. Kim sent me 6 more love messages and said she would call me at 5 p.m. after they were done for the day. After reading them, I accessed the cloud from my laptop, logged into her account, and looked at everything that had been downloaded since I activated the spy program to record. I sat in shock as I read the messages sent to Jonathan. Here are a few of them. "You were amazing last night, babe. I can't wait to feel you inside me again tonight. Thank you, kitten. I loved having you. Can we go back to my room after we're done before dinner?" "Absolutely, but I need to call my husband before we go. I have to be ready by 5:15. Does hubby have any idea who we are? Of course not. He knows I love him, and I'll make sure he keeps thinking that what we're doing is something he never needs to know about. We've kept it a secret for over 6 months, and he has no idea. I know how to handle him. Don't worry, I had to stop reading as my anger was becoming all-consuming. A kitten, he called her a kitten. That's what I called her when we had sex and made love. Had she given him that too? Was I really that stupid and had no idea what kind of dummy was I? After pulling myself together, I opened the other files and almost fell off my chair. Look at his very large, life-sized friend and realized he had sent this to my wife. How disrespectful that was. What I saw next made me scream with anger. The next image I opened was from Kim, and it was a close-up of her, now shaved, with the note, "Come lick me, baby shaved." When had she had time to do that? She didn't even trim it for me, and now she's shaved it for him. She's sending him pictures of her that say, "Come lick me." I dropped my laptop on the chair, jumped up and screamed. I grabbed the lamp off the table and threw it at the wall with force, shattering it into 1,000 shards. The anger I had learned to control now took over. I was about to break another lamp when I heard the girls crying. The crying brought me back to consciousness, and I immediately regained control of myself. I went into the bedroom and held both girls in my arms until they stopped crying and calmed down. I let them play in the living room while I sat down in a chair with another stiff drink after cleaning out all the glass after my temper tantrum. In my opinion, the marriage was over, and it was time to take action. I didn't have the willpower to listen to any more of their conversation or view any other downloaded files, and I just let them accumulate in the cloud. I decided that the best plan of action was to play along with Kim, just like she was playing along with me. I was going to act like a loving husband. As I formulated my plan of action, my immediate plan was to contact a divorce attorney, a private investigator, and figure out a way to retain custody of the girls. The girls were my main concern, and the only thing that mattered to me in this world phone call at 5 p.m. "Hey, baby, how are the girls doing? They miss their mommy." Oh my gosh, they are all I think about all day long, and you too. Of course, I can't wait to hold you when I get home. I'm going to give you the warmest kiss you've ever gotten. I played along, "Oh baby, I think about you all day and I can't wait to hug my loving, sexy wife soon. Baby, we'll be together again somehow." I held back and the call went on for exactly 15 minutes. At 5:15, she ended the call and said, "I love you, David. I have to go now. The bus is leaving back to the hotel and I have to leave. I'll text you later. I love you." Another easy lie to tell. She was definitely good at it. I love you too, baby, more than you'll ever know. The pain of her lies and fraud was now replaced with contempt, anger, and revenge. I was going to destroy this woman and make her pay for her lies and deceit. I truly loved this woman with all my heart, and this was the hardest thing I had ever had to do. I met her at the airport, and she hugged me and kissed me like she promised either she was a better actress or she really did love me that much. Was she really just using Jonathan for sex? I continued to be confused by her antics. She spent an hour with the girls, and she enjoyed being with them that night in bed. She was overly loving and repeatedly told me how much she missed me and the girls and hated that she had been away from us for so long. She told me that all she ever thought about was being with me like this right now, in bed holding each other. She was tender and loving and totally different from the woman at the fair I was loving too. And I really enjoyed being with her this way. It felt good, and I wanted it to be real because being with her was how I wanted to spend my life. But I knew it would all be over soon. I never let her know what I had learned, and I gave her my love and satisfied her every night. Anyone who saw us would have thought we had the most amazing relationship and would have envied our love for each other. This went on for 3 months, and I tried to look for any signs of an affair, but there was nothing to point. Transcripts and photos, Mr. Bryce. Before we open this up, I'm very confused because I've been keeping a close eye on her movements and schedule for the last 3 months, and this is nothing unusual. She was the perfect wife and lover, and nothing makes sense. Well, let me walk you through it and see if anything clears up. I stopped looking at the cloud files as my heart couldn't take the correspondence and prayed for the best. Of course, it wasn't meant to be. There were over 7 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, 75 pages of photos of them entering and exiting hotel rooms together with timestamps. There were over 82 video messages and 50 pages of phone calls. Kim and Jonathan visited this motel at least 4 times a week for the past 3 months. You can see pictures of them every day at 1 p.m. They spent an average of 2 hours together on each visit. It appears that there were 2 men who visited your wife 4 times a week during the last month. Do you recognize this man? Oh my God, that's Jason Sinclair. He's the CEO of her company. You mean she's banging 2 guys and one of them is the CEO? Sorry to have to tell you this, but based on text messages, phone calls, and videos, he is clearly sexually involved with your wife. The video link labeled balcony actually captured him making love to your wife. As she leaned over the railing, I think they felt untouchable and didn't realize they were being filmed. Our 8K video captured their faces in close-up, and our audio captured them as well. He played the video on an 80-in display. There was Kim. My wife bent over the railing with her CEO standing behind her and having her hard. I watched her squirm as she orgasmed. And then I saw a close-up of Jason's face with a cocky smile as he enjoyed what belonged only to me. I felt myself throwing up. I had to leave the room for a few minutes to recover. I went back to the conference room and made them continue as I now wanted to see what she was doing. The video labeled Balcony 2 in shows your wife with Jason's penis in and Jonathan's penis in her mouth. I'm so sorry to have to show all this, but since they were in public, you can use these videos. If you decide to proceed with your divorce and custody battle, he scrolled through the video of my loving wife being grilled by her boss and CEO. I sat there with my mouth open in amazement. I still had a hard time believing that it could have been Kim, and I prayed that it all turned out to be one huge mistake. David, we looked into the information on Jonathan Wills and Jason Sinclair. We found the following. Jonathan has been married for 10 years and has 4 young children. Mr. Sinclair has also been married for 25 years and has 3 adult children. Text messages indicate that Jonathan engaged Jason in adultery after your wife said she wanted to try a threesome. It's getting pretty dark in here, so I'll let you read when you're ready. Take the folder in that USB drive with all the files and videos. I'm sure your lawyer will need both. When I met with my attorney, she was amazed at the amount of data we were able to gather and could not believe that there was no evidence of her adultery at home. She continues to portray a loving wife and mother as if everything is perfectly normal. The attorney said we had several actions we could take based on the files I provided. She needed time to work through all of our options and set up an appointment for the following week. I told her to start the divorce paperwork as soon as possible. I walked out of the office with a big hole in my stomach. I knew it was over before I even had those meetings, but watching those videos ended any hopes of reconciliation still confused. I asked myself, who was this woman after the girls went to bed? We sat on the couch and watched an old movie I'd picked up on Netflix called The Infidel. I heard it was a good movie, let's give it a chance, I said as I hit the play button. Since the movie was about cheating spouses, I planned the conversation ahead of time. In my office, who had been hitting on me for the past few months, you can picture me with another woman. I said, laughing. She looked at me with squinted eyes, really. Who, if I catch you even thinking about being with her, I'll cut your balls off. Do you understand you belong to me and no one else? She said with a serious expression on her face. Even though I tried to keep it funny, she wasn't fooling around. She made it clear that she would not tolerate any deception. I couldn't believe how angered she was by this, how hypocritical one person could be. She was pissed off about this while she 2 men behind my back every day. Unreal. It pisses me off. David, why didn't you tell me about her before? What's her name? Kim. Relax. She's an intern, a young girl who likes to flirt. I'm totally ignoring her. What about you, Kim? You're the prettiest girl in your office. Are you telling me no one flirts with you? Of course not. They all know I'm married and that I would never cheat on you. So in our entire marriage, you've never thought about being with another guy or done anything like that? I mean, not even a friendly kiss. You never cheated on me, baby. Now she was really mad. Are you kidding me? Did you really just ask me that? I tell you all the time how much I love you. I'm always with you, and I could never think about being with another man. You're an ass. I can't believe you asked me that. I apologized. I agreed with her and continued watching the movie. I smiled to myself, thinking that she should have been an actress because she was so convincing that I even doubted myself. No wonder she was so good at her job. I thought after things calmed down a bit, she snuggled against my shoulder again, and I felt it was time I grabbed my phone, opened the text app, and selected a picture of Kim and Jonathan kissing on the dance floor with his hand on her ass. I was looking at the photo when she noticed I was distracted. "What are you doing, David? Why aren't you watching the movie? Because what I'm looking at is more realistic. What are you talking about?" I turned off the sound on the movie and showed her the picture. She froze and tried to say something, but nothing came out. I sat there still looking at the picture and said, "Wow, what a sexy kiss you give Jonathan. I can explain. Where did you get that picture? When you were out to dinner with your boyfriend, Greg Stanton, was in the same rest and saw you with that guy. He texted me to see if it was really you or if you looked perfect. Well, it was you, and he sent it to me. Moreover, I have to say that you look so sexy in that dress. I've never seen you in such a short or revealing dress. I think you wanted to impress your boyfriend." "Oh, you were going to explain that? I can't wait to hear it." I said, putting my phone back on my lap. "Baby, we only had one dance, and he was drunk when the song ended. He grabbed me and kissed me. What you don't see is that right after that, I slapped him and made a real scene. I would never let that happen. I did buy that dress for a business dinner, but I didn't realize how revealing it was until now. I'm so sorry. Oh, I know it can happen, and that was the only time it happened." I could tell she wasn't as confident as usual and said, "Yes, baby, and he'll never do it again." The movie continued, and I leaned back and sat quietly, knowing Kim was anxious. After a few minutes, I grabbed my phone and opened the video of them sitting on the couch with my hand up her skirt and started watching. She looked at me with a startled look. "What are you looking at now? Do you remember that night when you called me and told me you'd had a long day and you went back to your room and were going to sleep?" "Yeah," she whispered. "It's funny because I got another text from Greg 2 hours after you called. And this time it was a video. Do you want to watch it?" I said, hitting the play button and clearly showing her and Jonathan kissing, and his hands exploring her hidden treasures that were supposed to belong only to me. "I can't wait to hear the new explanation," I said, smiling. My anger was gone now, and all I felt was contempt and amusement at her reaction. "Oh my God. David, I'm so sorry. After we talked on the phone, Jonathan called and said we needed to discuss a problem with one of the clients we were meeting with in the morning. He asked me to go down to the lobby to get ready for the meeting. I barely remember the video because I had a few drinks and was a little intoxicated. You know how I am when I'm drunk? I know the video looks bad, but nothing happened after that. I distinctly remember going up to my room. I told him to stop. I was happily married, and I left. Nothing happened. You have to believe me, that's part of the problem, Kitten," I said, putting emphasis on the name Kitten. I saw her blink when I said that, and continued, "The problem is that I've always believed you, but in the last 20 minutes, you've lied to me twice about some serious IUs. Can you see it from my side? I'm alone, and the love of my life is making out with her boss in 2 pictures dressed in the most laud outfit she's ever worn. How do you think I feel, baby David? I love you. That was 3 months ago. Why didn't you say something sooner? Honestly, I wanted to see if you'd tell me yourself. I wanted to make sure my wife was as honest and transparent as we've always been with each other. But now I realize how things are between us. Are you lying about anything else? Are you having an affair with him? Are you in love with him?" I was playing with her now and enjoying her confusion and acting. She started sobbing and kept telling me how much she loved me. "Kim, please stop telling me you love me so much. I'm sure you love me and I still love you. But it has nothing to do with these pictures. I need to understand why. And is there anything else you're lying about?" I said, pressing the recorder button on my phone without her knowledge. "David, listen to me. Nothing happened. Yes, I think I kissed him as you saw, but that was it. And every time I told him to stop, I'm not sure what Greg saw or told you, but you have to believe me. Okay, stop crying, baby. I believe you, but I'm confused by the way you were dressed. I mean, you never wear anything like that for me, and you never do your hair and makeup like that either. Did you do it for him?" You didn't answer my question. Do you love him? Do you want to leave me for him? Kim, please, I need to know the truth. The sobs resumed. "No, David. I only love you. I never want to lose you. Nothing happened, and I don't know why I dressed like this. It's so unlike me. Maybe it was because all the other women dressed like that, and I wanted to look just as good. I don't know for sure. I was a little unsure of myself. I guess I can understand that, and it makes sense. But why didn't you tell me about Jonathan and your closeness since nothing really happened? and I put an end to it. I didn't want to upset you. I mean, he's my boss, and I couldn't afford to lose my job if anything happened. If anything did happen, I would have told you right away, that I kissed her and pulled her gently against me, letting her cry it out. That was just the beginning of a month-long episode of playing out my revenge. We made love that night, and I enjoyed her amazing skills, detached as her husband, and thinking of myself as one of her sexual partners. I wasn't about to deprive myself of her body and warn her of anything out of the ordinary. I did ask her about her shaved, and wondered how she would respond. This is something new. You shaved for your boyfriend. You've never done that for me when I've asked you before. No, baby, don't be silly. I did it tonight, hoping to liven things up and show you that I'd do anything for you. I love you, baby. I belong to you, honey. The acting here was impressive, but at that moment I didn't care anymore. She was more passionate than ever, trying to convince me that I was her only love. This continued for the next few weeks. Every night her acting skills were at an all-time high, and I was just enjoying the show. The next morning I did go on the cloud to see if she had any correspondence with Jonathan, and sure enough, she didn't disappoint me. Oh my God, someone had taken pictures of us at the fair and sent them to David. His friend was at the restaurant and saw me without David. I'm not sure if he knows, but the video showed us kissing, and you had your hand on mine while we sat in silence thinking about it all. Yes, obviously I was the biggest idiot in the world, but revenge is sweet, and I was walking on scorched earth. But I was in no hurry to enjoy Kim's antics and see how many more lies she would tell. The first thing I did, of course, was to take care of the financial situation, transferred funds, closed accounts, and so on. I left the main Visa card open and lowered the limit to $2,500 to control any damage she might do, since Kim had no idea how upset I was. She never thought I would change anything. I confirmed with the attorney that since I owned the house before the marriage, I would not have to leave the house once she was notified. Of course, I drafted the infamous email that I ended up sending out, including videos, text messages, and photos to all of her friends, family, and co-workers. I also created duplicate 3 ring binders from my personal account for Mrs. Sinclair and Mrs. Wills to share my pain. I would send these out at the same time everyone was notified and cases were being filed. I asked my attorney to prepare to file public civil suits against both Jonathan, her boss, and Jason, the CEO of the company. Since the company was one of the largest technology companies on the East Coast, my attorney was excited about the CEO's involvement. We were going to make them a settlement offer before going public about how the CEO and managers had sexually harassed their employees. We worked with child custody services attorneys to obtain full custody of the children and prepared documents, files, and a binder for the investigation. Over the next few weeks, everything seemed normal. We loved the children and spent time together every day as usual. We went out to dinner and discussed everything, avoiding the big elephant in the room. I'm sure my silence on the subject drove her crazy. Not knowing what I was thinking must have been exhausting. I decided to have a little more fun with Kim and asked a few questions. So, Kim, has your boss made any moves on you since the fair? Is there anything you want to tell me? I knew from her conversations with Jonathan that they still met daily at the hotel. I wasn't sure how she could keep her cool and lie so easily. It was funny to watch her reaction. And now I could even tell when she was going to lie. She calmly replied, "No, not at all." It's weird because we both act like nothing happened. And it's true, nothing really did happen. He's been a total professional, and we rarely even talk because we're so busy with our projects. I just sat there with a cocky smile, still amazed at how the mother of my children and the love of my life could lie to me so easily. Her hard that night, releasing the remnants of the anger that was still bubbling in my body. Oh my God, David, what's gotten into you? You're a wild man tonight. I've never seen you so rough and tumble. I liked it. I thought I knew this was going to be the last time before all this spilled out tomorrow, and I was going to take as much as I could from my soon-to-be ex-wife early the next morning before I left for work. I knew my little girls were still asleep. Kim. Hard one more time. The anger was still raging deep inside me, and my thoughts continued to be dark and intense. That afternoon, the sheriff walked into the Tricom International office and demanded to see Mr. Sinclair. Moments later, Sheriff Clark entered Sinclair's office and handed him an envelope. "Mr. Sinclair, you have been notified." A second later, he was alone in his large office holding the envelope, and fear gripped his entire body. After reading the complaint for the third time, he immediately told his secretary to have Jason come to his office. While his secretary was on the phone, Jason had just been handed his complaint from the same sheriff. He hurried into Sinclair's office, and they both stood shocked and confused. How did this happen, Jason? If my wife destroy you and your family, do you understand? Sinclair was a man not to be messed with, a ruthless street man who had worked his way to the top of this multi-billion-dollar organization and wasn't about to give it up for this. He would put Jonathan's balls in a jar if he didn't fix it. Jonathan ran out of his office and waited for the elevator to go down to the 12th floor to talk to Kim. As he was walking down the hallway to Kim's office, he saw the sheriff walking in the opposite direction and realized he was coming from Kim's side. He ran into her office and saw her sitting at her desk with tears rolling down on her face. She was crying uncontrollably and couldn't speak. David had just destroyed her world, just as she had destroyed it months ago. It took her over an hour to calm down enough to be able to speak, and even then she could barely string a sentence together. "Kim, what the hell happened? How did he find out about all of us? What do you mean I just got served with divorce papers? What do you mean us, Sinclair and I, have also been sued and are in a civil suit for what happened? We don't know what evidence he has, but it must have been more than the 2 images you saw. You need to get David to back off, or Sinclair will destroy us and my family. Oh my God, this is bad. This is terrible. Go to him and make him understand. Do whatever you have to do to stop it. Go home and deal with it. Call me tonight if you can and let me know what's going on." Kim packed her things, still shaking, and drove home. The man she loved, her husband and father of her children, was going to divorce her. She didn't want a divorce, and she truly loved David, but somehow she found that sexual arousal was what she needed, and she couldn't stop. She had to make David realize that she couldn't lose him over it. She went back to the empty house. The girls were at David's sister's house, as they were every afternoon. While they both worked, she called David's sister and asked if she could keep the kids overnight. She didn't ask why, but of course Kathy was happy to have the girls over for the night. Kim showered, tidied up her hair and makeup, and waited for David to return from work. At 6 o'clock, she heard the garage door open and waited nervously for him to enter the house. "Hi, Kim. I didn't expect to see you tonight. I assumed you'd be with Jonathan. Oh, wait, he's married and has kids. I think it might be awkward, David. Please, let's talk." She took his hand and sat him down next to her on the couch. She looked surprisingly collected and much nicer than usual when she met him. He expected this and continued to play the game, David. As you already know, I was notified today. But do you realize that I don't want a divorce? I need you and I love you. I'm not signing those papers. Jonathan means nothing to me. Yes, we had sex, but it wasn't love. I just needed it, and I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. I promise. Oh, you promise? I think I can trust you now. So yeah, I'll just forget everything and we can go back to normal, I said with a loving smile. Kim grabbed me and kissed me. "Thank you, baby. I love you so much. I'm glad you forgive me and understand I will never lie to you again." It was a surprise. I was sure she realized I was being sarcastic. I recoiled and pushed her away. "You are out of your mind, woman. I can never trust you again after all your lies and deceit. There's nothing left. I gave you so many chances, but you kept lying, messing with my head and ruining our lives. I know all about your daily lunch meetings at the hotel with your bosses. Did you really think I'd take you back after what you did? Did you ever think about the damage you're doing to the girls? There's no way I could turn a blind eye, but you have to, and why are you going after Sinclair and Jonathan? Well, your sex buddies are also your executives and CEOs of a multi-billion-dollar company. After I dump your ass, I'm going to need money to properly support the girls, and given that they are partially responsible for destroying our marriage and my life, I intend to destroy them too. I intend to destroy their family, damage them financially, and them the way they you. Kim had never heard David talk like that, and she had never seen him so angry and focused. The gravity of the situation finally got to her, and she realized that she was no longer in control of the situation, or her husband. All she could do now was beg. So with tears in her eyes, on her knees, she held David's feet and begged for forgiveness. David did feel sorry for her, but his rage overcame that weakness, and he carried her to the couch in a soothing voice. David addressed Kim as if she were a child. Listen to me, Kim. You need to pack a bag and go to your mom's house for a few nights. Get a lawyer, and then we can set up a meeting to talk things over. In the meantime, a word to the wise, I suggest you stay away from Jason and Jonathan. Things are about to get ugly. Later that night at her mom's house, she explained that she and David had had a bit of a fight and they needed to be with her for a few days at 11 p.m. That evening, she called Jonathan on his cell phone. Jonathan asked her to hold on and quickly connected Jason with a three-way call. Jason, are you there? Kim, are you there? Yes, we're here. Sinclair started the conversation. So Kim, were you able to get him to drop the lawsuits and the divorce, Kim? No, he actually kicked me out and warned me to be careful because it could get me in trouble. Sinclair shouted into the phone. Jesus Christ, Jan, what have you done, Kim? I swear I will order you and Jonathan killed if my family finds out about this. I don't care what you do, but make it stop. Kim cried. I can't do anything. He's out of control and won't listen to anything I say. He won't even answer my calls or texts. Sinclair spoke up, Jonathan. You need to fix this. Set up a meeting with David and have him meet us at a bar somewhere. It has to be loud, and the noisier, the better. Kim, you be there and ask him to drop the lawsuit in front of us if he says no. Then Jonathan and I will explain how damaging it will be to him and his family if he doesn't back down. I have people assigned to fix things like this, and I will not hesitate to use them to make sure this show doesn't turn to complete crap. Jonathan, do you understand what you have to do? Yes, Mr. Sinclair. Kim, you know what you have to do, right? Yes, Mr. Sinclair, do it and make it happen tomorrow afternoon. We don't have time to waste. Make an appointment for tomorrow. Sinclair's gone. Kim and Jonathan hung up the phone a few minutes later, mulling over the situation that night. When David heard the call, he wasn't surprised by their desperation and made his own plan as expected. The next morning, Jonathan called David and asked for a meeting to discuss a settlement. He said to meet him in the courtyard at 6 p.m. that evening. David agreed and was in his private investigator's office at 4 p.m. preparing to meet with Jonathan. They used the latest technology with noise-canceling technology to focus on the frequency of the voice and get clear sound even in noisy environments. The private investigator would also be there to film the meeting as a stand-in for the event. David entered at 6:15, deliberately making them wait for him and adding a little time for the private investigator to locate his video camera. David saw Kim and approached the group. Kim, I'm surprised to see you here with your boyfriends, but I think we know what your alliance is all about. Gentlemen, what can I do for you? Why are we here? Sinclair spoke up. David, I'm Jason Sinclair, and I asked for this meeting. Sinclair, you look very different in person. These videos don't do you justice. I can't say it's a pleasure to meet you. Yeah, that's why we're here. This is Jonathan Wills. Jonathan, the man who my wife and ruined my marriage. I can't say it's a pleasure to meet either of you. Sinclair spoke up. I don't blame you for your anger. Believe me, if I were you, I don't know what I would have done, but as it is, we have some things to discuss. Come on, what's on your mind? David said we want you to withdraw the lawsuits you filed against me, Jonathan and company. Funny? That's it. Well, no. I'm sorry I can't do that. Someone has to pay for taking away the most important thing in my life. Looking at Kim, he added, the only woman I've ever loved, and the mother of my children. I can't imagine life without her. Kim began to cry as she realized how she had destroyed the most important things in her life. What will it take for you to stop all of this and get Kim back? Name your price, first of all. There is no amount of money in the world that you could offer me for taking her back. She betrayed my love, my trust, and the lives of our children to party with you two idiots. That will never happen. I will drop the civil and corporate cases under two conditions. Number one, I want $5 million in damages. Number two, I want to meet with both your wives and Kim. You will fully admit to what you have done. If you agree to those two conditions, I'll drop the cases. Screw you, David. I'll give you $100,000 and you'll need to sign an agreement that you will never discuss this with anyone. Sinclair leaned over and spoke quietly. I can't expose my family to all this, and if they find out, David, I'll kill you. Kim has told us your entire routine, and making you disappear would be the easiest thing in the world. So let's try it again. He was shocked when David smiled and took a sip of his drink. Well, I can reduce the amount to $4 million, but your families need to know what you did. Sinclair was dumbfounded. David, you are writing your own death sentence. Think about it carefully. Drop the charges and take Kim back. It was just an affair. We can end it. David pulled out his phone and sent 2 text messages. Open his email, and sent the email he had set up. All the videos and images and text messages were now sent to all of Kim's friends, her family, her co-workers. The 2 text messages David sent were to the delivery men, who were sitting in front of Jason and Jonathan's house waiting for his instructions. The message read, "Deliver the package." And within minutes, Mrs. Sinclair and Mrs. Wills now had a duplicate 3-ring binder with all the photos, videos, messages, phone calls, and proof of their affair. David made sure that Sinclair's cover had a picture of Jason Kim over the railing with that stupid smile on his face. For Mrs. Wills, he arranged for a screenshot of Kim taking Jason from behind with Jonathan's penis in her mouth. It really made a spectacular and exciting cover photo funny. Sinclair started to get angry and yelled over David's inattention. "What the? David, I'm talking to you. What are you going to say? Are you going to drop the charges? My answer to you, Jason Jonathan, and my wife is this, you just then." Jason and Jonathan's cell phones rang. Both of their wives were on the phone. I saw Sinclair's face turn red, and he looked at me with angry eyes. I started ringing when just a few minutes later she got calls from her sister, brother, aunt. They had all now viewed the video and pictures and had many questions. She said she didn't know what they were talking about, and then opened her email to see what I had sent. Her jaw dropped and she looked at me angrily. "You bastard, how could you do this to me? You oversimplified it, baby. I do love you, but it's over between us." And as after I give this audio from this meeting to the police and social services, my lawyer is almost convinced that I'll get full custody of the girls and you'll be lucky to avoid jail. Sorry, kitten. Yes, kitten, that's my pet name for you that you shared with your banging buddy. I know all this, princess, and now you must pay for all your actions 6 months later to avoid going public. Tricom settled the lawsuit by paying David Hunter due $225 million. Jason Clare was suspended as CEO and fired without severance for violating the morals clause in his contract. He lost over $10 million in stock options and a $5 million severance agreement, all because of his desire to my wife. Sinclair is also serving a 5-year sentence for conspiracy to commit murder, along with several other charges after they investigated his business dealings. Sinclair's wife divorced him while he was in prison and crucified him financially. He would walk out of prison pen without a family and without a place to live. This news made David feel a little better, and he even smiled for the first time in months. Mrs. Wills had also divorced Jonathan, leaving him with no money, no place to live, no child support, and half of his income as alimony. He was fined $1 million in a civil trial for conspiracy, adultery, and loss of affection. In David and Kim's marriage, he lost his job and now worked as a day laborer. David was still enjoying his revenge when he received news of Jonathan's fate. He had to declare bankruptcy and began living under an overpass near where the day laborers gathered. It gave David some pleasure too, and he caught himself smiling more often again. Kim was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but with David's help, the sentence was reduced to 1 year house arrest and 4 years probation for conspiracy. She lost her fight for the children, and now David has full custody because of the evidence and the crime. She did not succeed in her divorce. David owned the house, so she had nowhere to live before she was fired. She was making as much as David, so there was no child support. Kim fell into a deep depression and now lives in the basement of her mother's house. The family has turned their backs on Kim for what she did, causing her to lose visitation rights to her children. The email I sent with the attached video and photos revealed a dark side of Kim that no one